The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in rising circular tiers, their worried whispers echoing off the crystal walls. At the center of the hall, High Counselor Reed's blue-tinted hologram flickered as he gripped the edges of his podium. "It has returned," Reed announced, his voice trembling. "The ancient devourer has awakened." The hall erupted in chaos. Some representatives screamed, others fainted, and a few simply sat in shocked silence. Reed raised his hands, calling for order. "3 systems have already gone dark," he continued. "The outer colonies of the Silver Arm are reporting massive energy disturbances. Our deep space sensors confirm it's the same entity that nearly destroyed our ancestors 10,000 years ago." In the middle tier, Ambassador White of the Technology Guild stood up. His metallic skin reflected the hall's lights as he spoke. "Surely our defenses are better now. We have energy shields that can withstand supernovas, weapons that can pierce space-time itself." Reed shook his head. "We've already tried. The Devourer adapts to every energy-based weapon we use. It simply absorbs them, makes itself stronger." He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the hall. It showed a massive cloud of shifting darkness, consuming an entire star system. "This footage is from yesterday. The Devourer consumed the bright star system in less than 6 hours." The representatives watched in horror as the dark mass engulfed planets, ships, and finally the star itself. When the recording ended, the hall fell into a deathly silence. From the lowest tier, a small figure stood up. It was Junior Counselor Baker, newly appointed and known for his radical ideas. "There might be one option we haven't considered," he said, his voice carrying through the hall. "Though I fear many of you won't like it." "Speak, Junior Counselor," Reed commanded. "We have no time for politics." Baker cleared his throat. "There's a species we quarantined centuries ago. A species we feared because they never stopped preparing for war, never stopped building weapons. A species that still uses physical projectiles and explosive devices that we considered too primitive to be a threat." Murmurs of recognition spread through the hall. Everyone knew which species he meant. "You can't be serious," Ambassador White interrupted. "The humans? They're barbarians. They spent their entire history fighting among themselves." "Exactly," Baker replied. "They never stopped developing weapons, never relied solely on energy-based technology. Their quarantine was due to our fear of their combat efficiency. And now," he paused, looking around the hall, "now that very thing might save us all." Reed's hologram flickered as he considered this. The High Counselor had been among those who voted for Earth's quarantine 3 centuries ago. "The humans are dangerous," he said slowly. "But you might be right. The Devourer adapts to energy weapons because that's all anyone has used against it for millennia. But human weapons, they're different. Primitive, yes, but different. They still use nuclear weapons," Baker added. "Kinetic artillery, physical ammunition. Things we abandoned ages ago because we thought we had better options. But against the Devourer, these primitive weapons might be exactly what we need." The hall erupted in debate. Representatives argued back and forth, some supporting the idea, others violently opposing it. Reed let them argue for several minutes before raising his hand for silence. "We don't have the luxury of pride anymore," Reed declared. 3 systems are gone. Billions dead. If we don't try everything possible, there won't be a galaxy left to protect." He turned to Baker. "Junior Counselor, send the message to Earth. Break the quarantine. Tell them." He paused, seeming to age decades in moments. "Tell them we need their help." As Baker hurried to carry out his orders, Reed looked at the worried faces around him. In all his centuries of service, he never thought he'd see the day when the galaxy's most advanced civilizations would beg for help from a quarantined species. But as he watched the Devourer's image floating above them, he knew they had no choice. The galaxy's last chance now rested with the very species they had feared for so long. Admiral James Walker stood at the window of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching the massive fleet of warships in orbit. 300 years of isolation had taught humanity one thing: always be ready. The quarantine had forced Earth's nations to look inward, and eventually they united under a single banner: the Earth Defense Force. The emergency alert caught him mid-thought, its red light flashing across his office. "Admiral," his AI assistant announced, "we're receiving a transmission. It's not from Earth." Walker straightened his uniform. After 3 centuries of silence, the galaxy had finally decided to talk. "Put it through." The air shimmered, and a hologram appeared, a tall, blue-skinned figure wearing ornate robes. "Admiral Walker," the alien said in perfect English, "I am High Counselor Reed of the Galactic Council. We apologize for breaking the quarantine, but we face a crisis that threatens all life in the galaxy." Walker kept his face neutral, though his heart raced. "You've been watching us, then, learning our languages." "We never stopped observing Earth," Reed admitted. "We had to ensure you wouldn't become a threat to galactic peace. Your species' enthusiasm for warfare concerned us." Walker almost laughed. "You mean our primitive weapons scared you?" "Yes," Reed said simply. "But now, that very thing might save us all." The hologram shifted, showing the dark mass consuming entire worlds. "This is the ancient Devourer. It adapts to and absorbs all energy-based weapons. Our most advanced technology is useless against it." Walker watched the footage carefully. Years of military training kicked in as he analyzed the entity's movement patterns. "And you think our primitive weapons might work? Your nuclear weapons, your kinetic artillery, your physical ammunition. They're unlike anything used in the galaxy for millennia. The Devourer has never encountered them." Reed's hologram flickered. "We need your help, Admiral. Specifically, we need your most advanced warship." Walker turned to look out the window again, his eyes finding the massive shape of the EBS Nemesis. The ship was Earth's pride, combining 3 centuries of isolated weapons development with recovered alien technology they'd reverse-engineered from crashed scout ships. "You quarantined us because you feared our weapons," Walker said slowly. "Now you want us to use them to save you. The irony is not lost on us, Admiral." Reed's voice carried a hint of desperation. "But every hour we waste, another system dies. Will you help?" Walker pressed a button on his desk, bringing up the Nemesis' specs. "I'll need full clearance for my ship to move through Council space. No restrictions on our weapons. And after this is over, the quarantine ends." "Granted," Reed said quickly, too quickly. "The Council must truly be desperate." "One more thing," Walker added. "Why us? Really? There must be other species that still use physical weapons." Reed's hologram seemed to age before his eyes. "Because you humans never stopped fighting. While we sought peace through technology, you prepared for war. While we banned weapons that could harm, you built weapons that could destroy. We called you primitive, but you survived every challenge. You adapted. You grew stronger." He paused. "The Devourer adapts to everything it faces. Perhaps it needs to face a species that knows how to adapt just as well." Walker nodded slowly. "I'll brief my crew and prepare the Nemesis. Send us everything you have on this Devourer." As Reed's hologram faded, Walker looked at the Nemesis again. The massive battleship was a testament to humanity's refusal to remain helpless, even in isolation. Its hull bristled with railguns, missile pods, and experimental weapons that would horrify the Council's peaceful societies. "Contact Captain Stone," he told his eye. "Tell him to ready the Nemesis for immediate departure. And send word to all Earth defense stations. We're going hunting." The stars reflected off the Nemesis's dark hull, and for the first time in 3 centuries, humanity prepared to venture beyond their quarantine zone. The galaxy had feared them for their warlike nature, Now, that same nature might be all that stood between civilization and extinction. Captain Robert Stone walked through the main bridge of the EBS Nemesis, watching his crew prepare for their first mission beyond Earth's solar system. The massive ship hummed with power as its fusion reactors came online. At nearly 2 miles long, the Nemesis was humanity's greatest achievement, a perfect blend of raw power and advanced technology. Engineering reports all systems green. Weapons Officer Lisa Martinez called from her station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls, running final checks on the ship's vast arsenal. Nuclear silos primed. Railguns charge. Kinetic batteries standing by. Stone nodded, settling into his command chair. Thompson, how's our AI core doing? Mark Thompson looked up from his console, his eyes reflecting the blue glow of the neural interface. Battle AI is fully operational, Captain. It's already running combat simulations based on the Council's data about the Devourer. A group of alien observers stood at the back of the bridge, their faces showing a mix of horror and fascination. One of them, a tall figure with silver skin, stepped forward. This ship, the alien said, it's powered by nuclear fusion. That's right, Stone replied. Clean, powerful, and impossible to hack. We kept it simple. The alien shuddered. And these weapons? Physical projectiles. Explosive devices. Such primitive tools of destruction. Martinez couldn't hide her smile. Sometimes the old ways work best. Our main railgun can accelerate a tungsten rod to 30% light speed. No fancy energy weapons needed. Plus, Thompson added, everything's hardened against EMP and energy drainage. The Devourer can't absorb what isn't energy-based. The ship's intercom crackled. Bridge, this is engineering. Gravity drive spooling up. We're ready for transit. Stone pressed a button on his chair. All hands, battle stations. Prepare for departure. The alien observers watched in amazement as the massive ship came to life. Armored plates shifted, covering vulnerable areas. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments. The bridge's view screen showed Earth growing smaller as the Nemesis moved toward the quarantine boundary. Captain, Thompson called out, incoming transmission from the Council ship. The screen flickered, showing High Counselor Reed's face. Captain Stone, our sensors detect enough firepower on your ship to destroy an entire solar system. That's the idea. Stone replied calmly. You wanted our best ship. This is it. The Nemesis carries every weapon humanity has developed in 3 centuries of isolation, Martinez added. From simple bullets to experimental gravity bombs. If it can kill something, we probably have it. Reed looked troubled. Such destructive power. This is why we quarantined Earth. And now it's why you need us, Stone said. The Devourer's heading for the Centauri cluster, correct? Yes. 3 billion lives are at risk. Reed paused. Captain, our fastest ships take 2 days to reach that sector. Stone smiled. We'll be there in 6 hours. Nemesis has a few surprises your sensors can't detect. He turned to his crew. Thompson, activate the jump drive. Martinez, bring all weapons to standby. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do. The alien observers gasped as space itself seemed to bend around the ship. The Nemesis's experimental jump drive, reverse-engineered from crashed alien ships and improved by human engineers, tore a hole in reality. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Thompson counted down. The stars blurred, and the massive battleship vanished into the artificial wormhole. As they traveled, Stone studied the tactical displays showing their destination. The Centauri cluster glowed green with life, but at its edges, systems were already going dark as the Devourer approached. 3 centuries, Stone muttered. They locked us away for 3 centuries because they feared our weapons. Now those same weapons might save them all. The Nemesis thundered through space-time, carrying humanity's deadliest creations toward their greatest test. In the ship's arsenal, nuclear warheads sat next to gravity bombs. Railguns longer than buildings stood ready beside experimental weapons that defied conventional physics. The galaxy had called them primitive, but as the Nemesis raced to meet an enemy that consumed pure energy, perhaps primitive was exactly what they needed to be. The Nemesis burst out of its jump drive into chaos. The Centauri cluster's outer system was already under attack. A massive cloud of darkness, larger than Earth's moon, moved through space, consuming everything in its path. "By all that's holy," Thompson whispered, staring at his sensors. "That thing is made of billions of tiny machines. Nanites." Captain Stone leaned forward in his command chair. "Martinez, what are we looking at?" "The Devourer's consuming a Council defense fleet," Martinez reported, her hands flying over her weapon controls. "Their energy weapons are. They're making it stronger. It's absorbing everything they shoot at it." Through the bridge's main viewport, they watched as alien ships fired brilliant beams of energy at the dark mass. But the Devourer simply swallowed their attacks, growing larger with each blast. "Council command. This is Nemesis," Stone broadcast. "Fall back. Your weapons are only feeding it." The alien ships retreated, their crews watching in fear as the human battleship approached the cosmic horror. The Devourer sensed the Nemesis and turned toward it, its mass of nanites shifting like a living storm cloud. "All hands," Stone's voice rang through the ship. "This is what we trained for." Thompson, battle analysis. Thompson's neural link glowed as he connected deeper with the ship's eye. The nanites seemed to work together like a swarm. They're drawing power from the energy weapons to replicate themselves. "Then let's see how they handle something without energy," Martinez suggested, her finger hovering over the weapon's controls. Stone nodded. "Load the main railgun with tungsten rods. No energy signature for it to absorb." The massive weapon emerged from the Nemesis' bow. It was longer than most alien ships, a testament to humanity's dedication to primitive warfare. The Devourer moved closer, probably expecting another energy attack. "Target locked," Martinez announced. "Firing." The railgun erupted. A solid tungsten rod, accelerated to near-light speed by magnetic fields, shot toward the Devourer. There was no energy beam for it to absorb, just cold, hard metal moving faster than a comet. The impact was spectacular. The rod tore through the nanite cloud, scattering billions of the tiny machines into space. For the first time, the Devourer seemed to recoil in pain. "Direct hit," Thompson shouted. "The nanites, they can't adapt to physical damage." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Martinez, load all railguns. Fire at will." The Nemesis' sides opened up, revealing rows of smaller railguns. They fired in sequence, sending hundreds of metal projectiles into the Devourer. Each impact scattered more nanites, disrupting the creature's structure. The alien observers on the bridge watched in amazement. "Impossible," one whispered. "Such simple weapons." But their celebration was premature. The scattered nanites began to reform, creating smaller clouds that moved with purpose. "Captain," Thompson mourned, "it's adapting, breaking into smaller targets to avoid the railguns." "Then we switch tactics," Stone ordered. "Martinez, prepare the shotgun protocol." Martinez grinned as she typed commands into her console. The Nemesis' front section opened, revealing what looked like an enormous shotgun scaled up to spacecraft size. "Loaded with titanium pellets," she reported. "No energy signature, just old-fashioned scatter shot." "Fire." The weapon roared, spreading thousands of metal pellets in a wide pattern. The smaller nanite clouds couldn't dodge them all. Where the pellets hit, nanites were destroyed or scattered, unable to reform quickly enough. "Council ships," Stone broadcast. "Target the scattered groups with physical debris. Anything solid will work. Don't use energy weapons." The alien ships hesitated, then began launching pieces of space debris at the weakened nanite clouds. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. The Devourer, for the first time in its ancient existence, was being hurt by weapons too simple to adapt to. "Captain," Thompson called out, The main mass is retreating. We've driven it back. The bridge crew cheered, but Stone remained focused. Track its movement. It's learning, adapting. Next time won't be this easy. As the Devourer disappeared into deep space, the Council ships approached the Nemesis. Their commanders were silent, watching the massive human battleship with new respect. Humanity's primitive weapons had accomplished in minutes what their advanced technology couldn't do in weeks. "Send word to Earth," Stone ordered. "Tell them we found the Devourer's weakness, and tell them to send more ammunition. This fight is just beginning." Thompson hadn't slept in 24 hours. He sat at his station on the Nemesis's bridge, studying the battle data while drinking his 6th cup of coffee. The holographic displays around him showed endless streams of information about the Devourer's behavior. "Captain," he called out suddenly, making everyone jump. "I think I found something." Captain Stone moved to Thompson's station, followed by Martinez. The weapons officer had been working on reloading their depleted ammunition stores after their first battle. "Look at this pattern." Thompson pointed to a complex diagram. "The nanites aren't just moving randomly. They're following a program. An ancient one, but definitely artificial." "You mean someone made this thing?" Martinez asked, leaning closer to the display. "Not just made it," Thompson replied. "They wrote its basic code. The Devourer isn't some cosmic horror. It's a weapon. A very old, very broken weapon that's stuck in attack mode." Stone frowned. "Can you crack its programming?" "Already have." Thompson brought up new screens showing lines of ancient code. "It was designed to target energy weapons. That's why it absorbs them. It was probably meant to defend against some ancient enemy, but something went wrong. Now it just consumes everything with an energy signature." The alien observers who had been quietly watching from the back of the bridge moved forward. "Impossible," one said. "The Devourer has existed for millennia. Our greatest minds never discovered this." "That's because you all think in terms of energy and advanced technology," Thompson explained. "We humans still work with basic computer code. Sometimes, the oldest solutions work best." Martinez studied the code. "Can we shut it down?" "No," Thompson shook his head. "The original shutdown commands are corrupted. But," he paused, typing quickly, "we might be able to use this. The nanites have to communicate with each other to work as a swarm. If we could disrupt that communication, we could break it apart permanently." Stone finished. "What do you need?" Thompson looked uncomfortable. "Something we're not supposed to have. Something we reverse-engineered from the alien ships that crashed on Earth during our quarantine." Understanding dawned on Martinez's face. "The gravity bombs." The alien observers gasped. Gravity manipulation was strictly controlled by Council law. The fact that humans had weaponized it was horrifying to them. "Correct," Thompson nodded. "The Devourer's nanites use quantum fields to communicate. A series of gravity distortions could disrupt those fields, break up their network permanently. But we'd need to hit it with multiple bombs in exactly the right pattern." Stone turned to Martinez. "How many bombs do we have?" 6, she answered. "Hidden in a shielded compartment. We'd need all of them, perfectly synchronized." The captain walked to the main viewport, watching distant stars twinkle. "The Council banned gravity weapons because they can tear holes in space-time. Using 6 at once could destroy everything nearby." Thompson finished. "Including us. But if we don't stop the Devourer, it'll consume the entire galaxy eventually." Stone pressed the ship's intercom. "Bridge to engineering. Begin charging the gravity drive. We'll need maximum power." He turned to his crew. "If we're going to do this, we do it right. Thompson, calculate the perfect position for each bomb. Martinez, prepare the launch tubes. We get one shot at this." The alien observers huddled together, whispering frantically. Finally, one stepped forward. "Captain, using forbidden weapons of this magnitude, the Council will never approve." Stone's face hardened. "Then it's good we're not asking for permission. You wanted humanity's help. This is what it looks like. We break rules. We use forbidden weapons. We do whatever it takes to win. And if we fail, the alien asked, then we'll give the galaxy one hell of a light show before the end, Martinez said with a grim smile. Thompson looked up from his calculations. Captain, I found our target point. There's a dying star near the Horsehead Nebula. If we can lure the Devourer there, the star's gravity well will help amplify our bomb's effect. Plot the course, Stone ordered, and send word to any ships in that sector to evacuate. We're about to do something incredibly stupid and incredibly human. As the Nemesis's engines powered up, the crew prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. They were about to break every law in the galaxy to save it, using weapons so devastating they weren't supposed to exist. It was, Stone thought, a perfectly human solution to an impossible problem. The dying star pulsed an angry red ahead of the Nemesis. Captain Stone watched from the bridge as his crew made final preparations. They had one chance to end this, and failure meant death for everyone. Status report, Stone commanded. Gravity bombs armed and ready, Martinez said from her station. All 6 are programmed with Thompson's targeting data. Thompson didn't look up from his screens. The Devourer's following us, Captain. It's taking the bait. Behind them, the massive dark cloud of nanites approached, consuming asteroids and space debris in its path. It had grown larger since their last battle, now nearly the size of Earth itself. Engineering reports gravity drive at maximum power, the intercom crackled. But Captain, the containment fields are already straining. We're pushing her beyond safety limits. Stone pressed his command chair's communicator. Hold her together. We just need 10 more minutes. He turned to his crew. Begin final countdown. Martinez, deploy the bombs on my mark. The alien observers had refused to leave, despite the danger. One stepped forward now. Captain, our sensors detect massive space-time distortions forming. If all 6 gravity bombs detonate, they could create a tear in reality itself. That's the plan, Martinez replied, checking her weapons panel. The tear will pull in the Devourer's nanites and scatter them across different dimensions. They'll never be able to reform. And likely take us with them, the alien said quietly. Stone nodded. Everyone on this ship volunteered, knowing this might be a one-way trip. He stood up, facing his crew. But humanity spent 3 centuries preparing for a moment like this. We're not dying today. The bridge shook as the Devourer's outer edge reached them. Nanites began attacking the hull, trying to break through. Hull integrity at 90%, Thompson reported. The hardened armor's holding, but not for long. Now, Captain, Martinez called. We need to launch now. Stone took a deep breath. Launch gravity bombs. Execute pattern alpha. 6 massive cylinders ejected from the Nemesis's hull, arranging themselves in a perfect hexagon around the ship. The Devourer, sensing new targets, spread itself to attack them all. Bombs in position, Martinez announced. Detonation in 5, 4. The ship's engines roared to full power, ready to attempt their escape. 3, 2. All hands, brace for impact. Stone shouted. 1. Mark. 6 massive explosions lit up space. Where each bomb detonated, reality itself seemed to twist and tear. The Devourer's nanite cloud was caught in the gravitational forces, being pulled in 6 different directions at once. Spatial tear forming. Thompson yelled over the noise of straining metal. The star's gravity is amplifying the effect. The dying star's massive gravitational pull combined with the bomb's effects, creating a swirling vortex of torn spacetime. The Devourer's nanites, unable to resist the forces, began breaking apart. Hull integrity dropping. Someone shouted, "We're being pulled in 2. Full power to engines." Stone ordered. Thompson, plot us a course through the gravity wells. Martinez, fire everything we have left. Create us a path. The Nemesis's remaining weapons blazed, launching every piece of ammunition they had into the chaos. Physical projectiles carved a temporary path through the swirling nanite cloud. path identified. Thompson called. But Captain, the math says this is impossible. Stone gripped his chair as the ship shuddered. Humanity spent centuries doing the impossible. Take us through. The Nemesis's engines screamed as the massive ship accelerated. Around them, space itself was being torn apart. The Devourer's nanites were scattered across dimensions, their communication network shattered by the gravitational forces. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Engineering reported. We're losing power. Reroute everything to engines and life support, Stone commanded. We're almost clear. The bridge viewport showed nothing but swirling chaos as the Nemesis fought against forces that could tear planets apart. The alien observers watched in terrified amazement as the human crew worked with practiced precision, doing what their advanced civilization had thought impossible. With a final burst of power, the Nemesis shot through the last gravity well. Behind them, the spatial tear collapsed in on itself, taking the last remnants of the Devourer with it. Report, Stone called out as the ship stabilized. Thompson checked his sensors, then looked up with a tired smile. The Devourer, it's gone. Completely destroyed. We did it. The bridge crew cheered, but Stone kept his eyes on the viewport, watching the dying star fade behind them. Humanity's primitive weapons and desperate tactics had just saved the galaxy, and they had survived to tell the tale. The EDS Nemesis limped back to Earth, its battle-scarred hull telling the story of its impossible victory. Behind it flew an escort of 1,000 alien ships, not as guards this time, but as an honor guard. The same species that had once feared humanity now came to celebrate them. Captain Stone stood on his damaged bridge, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. Despite the ship's condition, multiple hull breaches, burned-out engines, and depleted weapons, the Nemesis had survived, just like humanity always did. Message from Earth Defense Command, Thompson announced from his station, his tired face breaking into a smile. They're calling us heroes. Martinez laughed from her weapons console, now mostly dark after they'd fired everything they had. Heroes. We broke about 50 galactic laws and nearly tore a hole in space-time. And saved every living being in the galaxy, one of the alien observers said, stepping forward. The Council has voted. Earth's quarantine is not just lifted. You're being offered a seat on the High Council itself. Stone turned to face the alien. And our weapons. Our primitive technology that you feared so much. We were wrong, the alien admitted. We thought advancement meant moving beyond physical weapons, beyond what we saw as crude methods of warfare. But you proved that true wisdom is keeping all options available. The old ways, as you call them, still have value. The bridge's main screen lit up, showing High Counselor Reed's face. The alien leader looked both humbled and relieved. Captain Stone, Reed said, the galaxy owes you and your crew a debt we can never repay. Your willingness to risk everything, to use forbidden weapons and desperate tactics, it saved us all. Stone nodded respectfully. We did what humanity has always done, Counselor. We adapted. We survived. We fought with everything we had. And that is why we need you, Reed replied. The galaxy has grown too comfortable, too dependent on a single type of technology. Humanity's different approaches, your unique solutions, they make us stronger as a civilization. Thompson looked up from his console. Sir, you should see this. Ships are arriving from every species, every corner of the galaxy. They're forming an honor line all the way to Earth. The view screen showed the amazing sight. Thousands of ships from hundreds of species formed a massive corridor through space. As the Nemesis passed, each ship flashed its lights in salute, a gesture they'd learned from human naval tradition. We still have much to learn from each other, Reed continued. Will humanity join us? Help us build a stronger galaxy together. Stone looked at his crew, the brave men and women who had faced down an ancient horror with nothing but courage, determination, and what the galaxy had called primitive weapons. Then he looked at Martinez's empty weapon racks, Thompson's battle-worn console, and the alien observers who now watched them with respect instead of fear. "We'll join you," Stone said finally, "but on one condition. No more hiding what we are. No more shame about our methods. Humanity will bring everything we are to the galaxy. Our strength, our determination, and yes, our weapons." Reed nodded solemnly. "Agreed. The quarantine ends today. Earth joins the galaxy as a full member, with all rights and privileges. Your ships will be welcome everywhere." As the Nemesis approached Earth's orbit, Stone saw something that made his throat tight with emotion. Hundreds of Earth's ships had formed up around the planet, their running lights spelling out 3 words in massive letters visible from space. "Welcome home, Nemesis." Captain Martinez called out softly, "Permission to power down weapons." Stone smiled. "Granted. Power down all combat systems. Our fight is over." The mighty battleship that had saved the galaxy slowly powered down its weapons, but kept them installed, kept them ready. Because that was humanity's gift to the galaxy, the understanding that sometimes the old ways were the best ways, that being prepared for war didn't mean you wanted it, and that true strength came from embracing all parts of who you were. As the Nemesis settled into orbit around Earth, Stone looked at the stars, no longer a barrier, but a road forward. Humanity had proven itself. They had faced extinction with courage, fought impossible odds with determination, and emerged victorious. The galaxy's last chance had become its greatest hope.